thank you for hosting us, and hope everybody is okay and eager to listen to me. This is a joke. Now, today's lecture is devoted to Neoplatonism. This is an interesting theme, maybe new to somebody, but very important because it influenced science in Renaissance period, and also the major philosophical synthesis like the philosophy of Hegel and others. So now, just look at this word, Neoplatonism. Why it is neo? What is the meaning of this neo? Like neo, well, we can say neo-Darwinism or neo-Marxism. This is like a development of a certain core, which was now in this case in Platonic philosophy. If we say about neo-Darwinism, it's about Darwinian paradigm. So what was important in Plato's philosophy that was further developed by Neoplatonists? This philosophical movement started in 3rd century AD. Well, Christian era, we can say. It's easier. 3rd century Christian era. If you remember, Plato lived in the 4th century before Christian era. So 7 centuries have passed. And suddenly there was a renewal of Platonic philosophy in new forms. Why was it possible, and where did it all start? Well, it started in the city of Alexandria in Egypt. Alexandria. Maybe some of you are from Egypt, so Alexandria. So you perhaps visited this city, Alexandria. It's a port on the Mediterranean Sea. There is nobody from Egypt is there among my students. Egyptians. Are there any Egyptians? Well, I don't have an answer. So, well, I had postgraduates from Egypt last year. So when I spoke about Alexandria, I wrote it not correctly. Alexandria, I missed R, Alexandria. This city was founded in 330 before Christian era by Alexander of Macedon and was named after him, Alexander of Macedon. So it was the product of the expansion of Greek culture in the East and in Africa, in the South, we can see. So during the conquests of Alexander of Macedon, Greek culture reached even the borders of India. There was a certain kingdom of Bactria in on the territory of modern Afghanistan. So it was a Greek kingdom where inhabitants spoke Pali and maybe Hindi also, and where there were contacts between Buddhist monks and Greek officials. And this is described in the dialogues of King Milinda. So, okay, well, it's just for you to understand that there was a terrible, big, tremendous expansion of Greek culture throughout the civilized world of that time. And also in Alexandria, there lived a lot of Jews. So this is the first time we mention these people, Jews. And I think there were more than 100,000 Jews in Alexandria. And they translated the Bible from Hebrew into Greek. Later, when Christianity appeared, Alexandria became the seat of a Christian bishop, and there was a so-called catechetical school. The most interesting representative of which was Origen. Catechetical school. And Origen. This is the famous Christian apologist who lived in Alexandria. And within these Christian circles of Alexandria appeared the founder of Neoplatonism, Ammonius Saccos. Ammon is in Greek Saccos, I think, like that. Ammon is sand in Greek, and Saccos is a bag. So a bag full of sand, we can say, Ammonius Saccos. But well, it is not so important, just for you to memorize. He was the founder of a certain school, philosophical school in Alexandria, out of which was frequented by Plotinus, and Origen, of which we have already spoken. So Plotinus was, I would say, a heathen, or a Platonist. He didn't embrace Christianity. And Origen was a Christian. About Ammonius Saccos, rumors differ. Some say that Ammonius Saccos was a Christian. Some say that he was one time a Christian, but then due to his philosophical studies, he sort of parted with Christianity and started his new, that philosophy sort of made him leave Christianity, and he became just an enlightened philosopher, but not a religious person. Well, we cannot say for sure, because how long has this class started? I mean, my class started 6 minutes ago. Unfortunately, in Zoom, you see how many things I have already mentioned. So this is for Isaac. Isaac is from Nigeria, yes? Or not?
Professor, thank you so much.
Huh? From Nigeria or
Thank
not?
you, from Nigeria.
Yes, very good. I have very deep feelings to Nigeria. Well, I haven't visited it yet, but I have a certain feeling in my heart that this country is very dear to me. So I think it is very big and very developed. I think it is most populous country in Africa. I'm not sure, but perhaps.
Exactly, Professor. Exactly. Yeah.
Full of prospects for good future. So maybe that's why I feel very privileged to teach you. I think there are several students from Nigeria, so I'm very privileged. And today we are in Africa now, or not in Nigeria, but in Egypt. We speak about Alexandria, where this Neoplatonist school appeared. So what was interesting there? it is like a synthesis of Platonic philosophy and Christian philosophy. So we can speak about, the Platonists speak about one. They call it, or in Greek it is hen. Hen is Greek in hen. Hen is one in Greek. Just if you count something, you can say hen, duo, and tria, and so on. So this is how the Greeks count. So hen is one. So this one is considered to be the highest possible principle, the highest principle of being, from which emanates, but this is very important, emanate. If you haven't emanate, if you haven't heard this verb, please pay attention to it and try to Google it. What is emanate and emanation? Emanation. This is keywords for Neoplatonism. To emanate is to, well, we can just describe it. Well, we can sort of specify it as proceed. Proceed. This is another word of the same meaning. Originate, yes, also very good. So, sorry. From one proceeds another great, I would say, entity, which is called Nous, or mind in Greek. So from one proceeds Nous, in Greek Nous, or in English mind. So this is not anybody's particular mind. This is mind in general. And we, according to Neoplatonists, we sort of partake or participate or so have some access to this one mind. So we cannot say that there are many minds. All minds are part of this one mind. So the idea is that whoever thinks and whatever thinking can be found on earth, it proceeds or originates from this mind, from the capital letter. And this mind is, well, I would say the greatest save one. The one is even greater than mind. But one cannot be expressed in any qualities. One doesn't have any qualities except being one and being the principle. Mind has some quality. It's thinking, because when we say mind, we mean, or nous in Greek, we mean thinking. So here, or intellect. So here we have a special quality of intellect. Now from this mind comes the third great entity. It is called the world soul, or just the soul. But usually it's translated as the world soul. But in Greek is just psyche. Psyche, which in Greek means soul. From this comes psychology, psychiatry, and so on. So just psyche. Now you see that N is neuter. It is neither masculine nor feminine. I mean N. It is neuter. Now nous is masculine. In Greek, nous is masculine, and psyche is feminine. So from this emanation, how to say, series of emanations, it follows that the male principle is higher a little bit than female principle. That is common for all ancient philosophy, so don't be scandalized with that. But in order to sort of humiliate the male principle, we can say that one is neither male nor female. It is neuter, so it has no gender, okay? So the highest principle has no gender. Then we have mind, which is masculine, and then we have psyche, which is, or the world soul, which is feminine. Now, what else follows from that? From the world soul follow or emanate individual souls. Individual souls. Well, for example, your soul, your souls. There are a lot of people listening to me, 29 people. Well, including myself, so there are 28. So 28 souls, we can say. You understand? 28 souls. And but this plurality of souls is leads to a certain degradation, because plurality, according to Neoplatonists, is worse than unity. So you see, unity and plurality. So unity is better, plurality is worse. We can say in modern terms, we can speak about entropy. Entropy. So the entropy is higher, the entropy grows, even in Neoplatonic philosophy. Emanation leads to the growth of entropy. Well, they didn't use this word, it is just my illustration, but it leads to some degradation of being. And this plurality is a sign of this degradation. But still we are in the domains of souls or spiritual beings. The biggest degradation comes when souls enter into bodies and there appears matter. Well, you know that according to Plato, matter is a bad principle. I've already stressed that several times when we spoke about Plato and when we spoke about Aristotle. I said that matter is something very bad, terribly bad. And Socrates was happy to leave this prison body, to leave the body which he considered a prison, and his soul was sort of free from that body after his death, and he was happy with that. Well, he was happy with the prospect of being liberated from the body, so he asked his pupils to bring a sacrifice to the god of health. So this sounds very strange. When a person dies, we usually don't give sacrifice to gods of health or to medical personnel, because we say, well, what we are to pay for, that the person is dead. But for Plato, it was not death, but it was a liberation. So matter is something bad. Now we see this line of descent. Yes, of course, when there are a lot of atoms, for example, the entropy is greater. When there are fewer atoms, the entropy is smaller, because with every entity or every atom, for example, has his, how to say, degrees of liberty, so he can move in this or that direction. And when we start to count all the possibilities, they just, how to say, grow into infinity. So the disorder, the chaos mounts or increases. So that's what we call greater entropy. So this is a measure of chaos of the system. So of course, when there's only one element, the chaos is the minimum. When there's only one pupil, for example, listening to me, then I would say there's easier for me to find how to say the words or expressions, or how to say the access to his soul or to his mind. When I have 28 people from different backgrounds with different levels of knowledge, I mean in philosophy, I just have to a little bit adapt myself to this multitude, and I think it's also a certain degradation. But I think that we can, I will show you later how the Neoplatonists solve this question. Now we're speaking about descent. So descent from the highest principle, this is the one, to the lowest, which is a body. Now the Neoplatonists invented the so-called ascent. Ascend. I think like that. Ascent. So climbing to the one, climbing to the highest principle. How it is possible? This is the core notion of Neoplatonism, and it's called ecstasy. 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 Well, like that, yes. Ecstasy, yes. Am I right in spelling it ecstasy? Well, it is now a very common word. People say, well, I'm in ecstasy. I visited a good, I saw a good film, or I met a very nice girl. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, Sola, you are correct. Of course, this is my fault. I'm sorry. So I will repeat it correctly. Ecstasy. Yes, I feel that something is bad, but ecstasy. Okay, ecstasy. Okay, now it is correct. Okay, so this ecstasy is a Greek word. It comes from ekstasis. Stasis is to stay. Therefore comes static, and ecstasy is to come out of your come out of yourself, come out of the place where you are staying. So and it means ascent. That means coming from this lower situation with a body, with a soul imprisoned by a body, to the principle which is one. And of course it is very difficult, but it is possible. How it is possible? It is possible when we follow the steps backwards. So for example, my individual soul is connected to my body. So what am I to do to unite myself with the universal soul or the world soul? I should mortify my body. Mortify shouldn't be understood in a literal sense. Mortify means asceticism. Asceticism. It says, you understand. So you should practice asceticism, fasting or meditations or chastity or something like that. Deny your body access to pleasures, bodily pleasures. In this way, you can unite your soul with the universal soul. Then follows the development of your mind. And by developing your mind, especially by lectures in philosophy and especially Neoplatonic philosophy, you can get access to this universal mind, or to the sort of second person of the Neoplatonist Trinity, we can say so. And then follows, which we can understand only as a gift, because we cannot come to this one principle. This is maybe a certain grace, I would say, although Neoplatonists didn't use this word, but they understood this as luck or gift. No, not all are gifted enough to reach this one in ecstasy, but certain people are more gifted, and that's why they are called teachers, and they can lead their pupils, help them to get to this unity. And when you come to this, how to say, unity with one, then you feel as if you are blessed and you feel perfect happiness. And this is the goal of all philosophical, how to say, work. So now we can see in Neoplatonism that philosophy, well, it was of course with Plato the same, that philosophy is not just some, how to say, kind of occupation without any aim or just certain exercises. No, this is very important because it leads you to a certain goal. So you can say that you have a purpose of life. Now, the Neoplatonists show you that life has a purpose. The purpose is this ecstasy and unity with one principle of this one with a capital letter and with a definite article, the one. Okay, so now all your energy, all your intellect, all your will should be directed to the implementation of this purpose. And not only intellect, but will also, because you see, we mentioned mortification, asceticism, chastity, fasting, abstaining from food, also stoic attitude towards life. In this way, there was some kind of relation between Stoicism and Neoplatonism in this, how to say, detachment from real life, non-intervention into worldly affairs. This is common Neoplatonists and with Neoplatonists and with Stoics. So it was achieved, after all, a certain synthesis of Stoicism and Neoplatonism and Christianity also. And the most important figures who promoted this synthesis were, first of all, Plotinus. Plotinus, who lived in the 3rd century AD, 3rd century Christian era. He lived first in Alexandria and then in Italy. Well, he didn't seek any pleasures or any like sources of money, but once people started to be interested with his philosophy, he let them sort of be his benefactors. Okay, so he found a certain woman who appreciated his work or his personality, I don't know, very much. Not that, of course, there were no carnal relations with this woman, but she permitted him to live in her villa. She was very wealthy and had a lot of slaves, and so she accepted Plotinus in her villa, and he sort of agreed to use her hospitality, okay? So he lived in her villa. Well, it was near Naples. Well, it seems that it was Minturni, but now it's, I think it's not a big city. So we can say it's in somewhere near Naples. You know, Naples in South Italy. Well, he lived there for a long time. Well, once he sort of paid back to his, how to say, hostess and to his benefactors, when one slave stole a precious diadem from her, she asked Plotinus to find the thief. And Plotinus said, well, collect all the slaves in one room, and I will point you to the thief, to the man who stole this diadem or necklace. Necklace, well, you know, necklace. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Maybe Ojasvini knows what it is. Every women know.
Yes, sir. It's jewelry to wear on neck.
Yes, so necklace with the precious stones, okay. So it was dear to this woman, and she asked Plotinus to help. So Plotinus asked her to gather all the slaves, and then he showed on one of the slaves and said, this one is this thief. How he managed to guess, we don't know. But when he was put to torture, he showed the place where he how to say, kept this necklace. So the necklace was eventually found. So, well, I wouldn't say that it was a great, how to say, a great story about Plotinus, that he sort of was like a policeman or Sherlock Holmes. But, well, for me, it seems like something like something fabulous. But this was this story and other stories about Plotinus were written by his pupil Porphyry or Porphyrius, Porphyrius or Porphyry. It was and Porphyry or Porphyry was also a great enemy of Christianity. That he wrote even a book against Christianity. So it is interesting. They seems that Neoplatonism developed as a synthesis of Christianity and Platonic philosophy. Now, why the ways were parted? What was the source of the quarrel? Why there was a certain enmity between Neoplatonist philosophers and Christians? We already have already spoken about Marcus Aurelius and his negative attitude towards Christianity. So now the same story sort of repeats itself. So we have to find out what happened, why there was this enmity between so close philosophical systems and religious systems, because all these words, ecstasy, mortification, asceticism, virginity or chastity, also meditation, this can be found, I think, in many religions, in Buddhism, for example, in some kinds of Hinduism, in yoga, for example, or in some kinds of practices of Muslim Sufi or Dervishi, and of course with Christian monks. And so we'll find it everywhere. And it seems that there should be created a universal brotherhood of all those men who practice mortification, asceticism, chastity, fasting, and meditations. So it seems that they have to learn from each other and gather, collect seminars, okay, or conferences, and speak about asceticism in Hinduism. Yes, thank you, Ojasvini. the link will be the same, I think, yes? Ojasvini, the link will be the same, yes. Okay, so we'll start a new theme. This means the relations between, how to say, pagan ideas, but also the Renaissance couldn't be understood without basic notion of Christian, how to say, Christian tenets or Christian dogmas or Christian principles. So, and when we compare the Christian Trinity with Neoplatonic Trinity, so when we compare, say, Nous with God the Father, one with God the Father, the principle of Christian Trinity, we see that there is a difference. One is higher even than reason, than mind. So this Neoplatonist one has no self-consciousness, okay? Like Hegelian absolute spirit. Later, when we speak about Hegel, we will be, there was with Hegel, maybe you heard about Hegel and his absolute spirit. So this absolute spirit, like Neoplatonist one, has no self-consciousness. But if we take God the Father is a person, and he has self-consciousness, and he you can sort of enter into personal relations with God the Father. So with one, you can only get access through ecstasy to a certain feeling, but it is not exactly relations. You cannot speak to this one. And you can speak with God the Father. And the Old Testament of the Jews is full of examples of Abraham or Moses or David speaking to God the Father, praying to God the Father, receiving answers from God the Father. So this is not Neoplatonist one, which is like how to say, tacit or mute. Okay, so one cannot speak. You can get only a feeling, some feeling of this ecstasy, but this is not how to say, verbalized. Okay, and with God the Father, you can establish real contact, like with say with a fellow man, according to the Bible, both Jewish Bible and Christian New Testament. Now, even the prayer which Jesus taught to his disciples is a prayer, "Our Father who art in heaven." Well, I think people from Nigeria have some knowledge of this prayer. "Our Father" it's called. Isaac, do you know this "Our Father"? Can you know it? Do you know it by heart? Or you are Muslim?
Exactly, bro. No, I'm a Christian.
Ah, you are Christian. So if you are Christian, so you have your catechism classes, and you can say "Our Father" by heart. And well, I will not just repeat the whole prayer, but the essence of it is that you can speak to Father, and you cannot speak to one. According to Neoplatonists, this will be absurd to speak to one. The Lord's Prayer, yes, exactly, "Our Father." So you see the difference. Now, if we take the second person of the Christian Trinity, it is the Son, or Jesus, Lord God incarnated, the Son, or the divine person, the Jesus, the divine person. This is a great challenge to Neoplatonist ideology, because Jesus is God incarnated, with the Neoplatonists, flesh or body is something much lower on their scale. So for them, it is stupidity or nonsense to say that the second person of the Trinity, or Nous in Neoplatonic tradition, took flesh or was incarnated or was given a body. Okay, so it is absolutely untenable for Neoplatonists. And with Christians, it is the most important idea that we have access to God the Father through the Son, because the Son has a body, and we can establish contact with the divine being, the divine person, through the second person of the Trinity. So we can enter into the Trinity through the Son. How to say? Well, if you attended the Catholic service, for example, in Nigeria, there are some Catholic, I think, churches. So you can hear the prayer of which the priests pronounce shortly before the distribution of the communion. He says, "Per ipsum et in ipsum et cum ipsa et in ipso." And just say it's in Latin. I will translate it. Et cum ipso, ipso. I'm sorry. Ipso, et in ipso. Well, I write ipso in ipsum with a capital letter because it is just denotes Christ. So through him and with him and in him. Through him and with him and in him and with him and in him. So this is how Christians understand ecstasy, or access to the whole Trinity, or to God the Father. Yes, they're Eucharistic prayers. So through him and with him and in him. So first of all, what's more important, through him. So through Jesus, we get access to God the Father and to the whole Trinity. And then there is the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, which is not divided into local spirits, sort of like the world soul divides into individual souls. But the Holy Spirit does not divide itself into sort of particular spirits, but it sort of works within the human soul, within the human spirit, okay? So, but it doesn't divide itself into plurality, okay? So the Holy Spirit remains one, but we can partake in him through, I mean, the Christians through grace, okay? Well, and the body in itself has nothing bad in it. Well, of course, after the fall, there's an idea of original sin and so on. We will not dwell on it, but the body as itself is no bad. What is bad is the will, which can turn itself against God, against the Trinity. And then this perverse will can lead to sin. And the first sin was the sin of angels. So angels denied to serve God, especially Satan, the king of the king of darkness, and he said that I will not serve. And with the angels, there's no body, there's no question of body. So the greatest of all falls, or the greatest of all sins, happens in the domain of the spirit, not of the body. So Neoplatonist has a, well, if you speak with Neoplatonist about sin, you know, sin, the concept of sin, well, maybe it's alien to, say, to the Indian spirit, the idea of sin or transgression. Well, but I think you can understand transgression in means of just, for example, partake in forbidden meat, or say of a sacred cow, or to desecrate some temple. This is called transgression, and I think it is punished. If you say, how to say, sin against religion, even in India, so you will understand what is that transgression and the punishment for it. So I think it's common to every civilization, this idea of sin. But the idea of sin, Neoplatonists understand that sin comes with plurality and with matter only. And to get free from sin, you should get free from body and get free from plurality. So this is the way to expiate your sin, okay? This is the way to holiness. So with body, you cannot reach holiness. Body hampers you to become holy, okay? So this is the great difference, because it lies in the domain of teaching or in the domain of dogma. So for intellectuals, these things are very important. And of course, Neoplatonist philosophers were intellectuals. And when they met with the same intellectuals among Christians, there, of course, appeared strifes and discussions and dissension and I would say enmity. It was spiritual. But what happened, what just aggravated the situation, is what then Julian the apostate, this was a emperor of the Roman Empire, who after he was the grandson of Constantine. Constantine, who is sometimes called Constantine the Great by Christians, he embraced Christianity at the end of his life, Emperor Constantine the Great. But I think he was his grandson, Julian the Apostate. Why he was called the apostate? Because he apostatized from Christianity and embraced Neoplatonic philosophy. And he sort of was surrounded by Neoplatonic philosophers, and he patronized them. And he was studying in Athens Academy, Athenian Academy. You remember Academy? I told you how Plato founded this school. Well, it was in very poor condition during the times of Cicero, or in the 1st century before Christian era. But in the 4th century, it gathered, how to say, prominence, and it was attended by very rich and noble personalities. And so Julian, who was at that time not the apostate, he was sent to this academy to receive knowledge. But while studying in the academy, he came under the influence of Neoplatonist philosophers who were teaching there, and sort of left Christianity and decided to return to pagan religion. That's why he was called Julian the Apostate. Of course, it created much scandal and much, at that time, Christian church was already very powerful. So Julian couldn't just exterminate all the bishops and priests. So, well, he started some kind of persecution, but it was because he reigned only for a few years, so it didn't last long. And then he took part in war against Persia and was killed during the war. So this is the end of Julian the Apostate. But in Christian folklore, he remains the bad personality, something like Judas, okay? Judas who betrayed Christ, okay? So, of course, after that, how to say, incident, Neoplatonism was very much compromised in the eyes of Christians, and it led to the closing down of Athenian Academy in 529 Christian era. You see, so in this year, the Athenian Academy was closed by Emperor Justinian, Byzantine Emperor Justinian, who built Hagia Sophia, you know, the famous Christian church, which is now again the mosque in Istanbul, Hagia Sophia, Saint Sophia Cathedral. So the same Emperor Justinian, who was reigning in Constantinople, he closed the Athenian Academy because he thought, and perhaps rightly so, that it was like the nest of anti-Christian Neoplatonic sentiments and teachings. So it was like a cultural war, okay? Well, we can say it was bad or good, but I prefer to abstain from moral judgments. Just this is the fact that the Athenian Academy was closed. But as you know, when you close the school, it always leads to a kind of degradation of knowledge. So we call the centuries that followed after the closing of the Athenian Academy, we call them the Dark Ages. You know, the Dark Ages. The Dark Ages. This is the end of the first millennium. So there were no great men, no great figures which can be compared with Plato or Aristotle or Neoplatonists. So there was people usually say, especially Hegel in his History of Philosophy, and also Bertrand Russell, that this was a period of stagnation, the Dark Ages. So there was nothing, no innovation, either in philosophy or in science. So, we'll speak about the influence of Neoplatonism on science, but it happened later. It happened during the Renaissance, when in Italy in the 15th century, there was the movement of interest into Neoplatonist philosophy, to Plotinus, and one of the very prominent Florentine humanists, Marsilio Ficino, translated Marsilio Ficino translated Plotinus' book called Enneads or Nines, but well, it's just not very important. But Plotinus' works into Latin, from Greek into Latin, Marsilio Ficino. And Marsilio Ficino is also famous for re-establishing academy. This was a small circle of translators from the Greek, which gathered due to patronage of, I'm sorry. Hello, I was speaking with my mother and I was speaking in Russian. Maybe you have some idea of Russian language, Ojaswini. Do you know some few words in Russian? Спасибо. Not much, yes?
Да, нисколько.
Yes.
Не знаем русский язык.
So you can, perhaps you didn't get the idea what I was talking about. I was talking.
I understand what you were talking about.
Ah, okay. Because my mother is 91 and I couldn't help her to visit the hairdresser because I have a running nose and she's afraid to become of this contact because she doesn't know whether this running nose is COVID or something else. Well, I have 2 negative COVID tests already, but still, who knows, you see? So my mother is very much afraid. So I couldn't help her, so she had to order the taxi and go to her hairdresser and backwards. And she says that the way was terrible because there were jams, traffic jams, and she's completely exasperated, or how to say, out of her forces. I don't know. Maybe there's exact English word when you feel overtired, okay? Like without any energy. Huh?
Overwhelming.
Okay, so exhausted, yes, very good, exhausted. Yes, I think this is the right word. So now we will continue. We have to say about the establishing of academy in Florence. So after perhaps 900 years, the academy was reestablished in Florence in 1462. So it was a small circle of humanists who were interested in Greek philosophy, and they were much helped by Greeks who fled from the Turks because Constantinople was taken in 1453 by the Turks, and so many Greek intellectuals traveled to Italy before that date and after that date, while Byzantium Empire was sort of being dismantled and overrun by the Turks. So many Greeks left for Italy. And there in Italy, they found, how to say, ways of earning money by teaching Greek language and Greek philosophy. So that explains partly the resurgence of the interest to Greek philosophy in Florence, for example, and Florentine Republic of that day. So we can say that after 900 years of, say, how to say, of being locked or being sort of out of work, academy like resurrected or was reestablished in Florence. And from that Florentine academy started this movement throughout the whole Europe. The Paris Academy, the Academy in Naples, and the other academies, Prussian Academy of Sciences, then the Russian Academy of Sciences. And now we have academies everywhere. And we speak about academics or academic degrees or academic career or academician. So it all is due to this Marsilio Ficina, because he used this sort of resumed to speak about academy and sort of rebuilt it in Florence. So it was founded in Athens, closed in Athens, and then sort of reappeared in Florence in Italy in the 15th century. So, but this we'll speak about that later. Now, I would say that these dark ages, of course, they, well, if we look closer at this epoch, we can see, for example, a certain philosopher called Boetius, who lived in Rome, or better in Ravenna. Well, in Rome and in Ravenna also during the Ostgoth Empire. This was after Gothic Empire. This was after the decline and fall of the Western Roman Empire. Okay, so this was the beginning of this period of troubles. Ostgothic Empire under Theodoric was not lived not much. The Byzantium forces sent by Justinian, they overran this empire and established Greek dominance on the territory of Italy. Well, more or less stable. But during this period of Ostgothic Empire, Boethius was accused of spying in favor of Byzantium, and he was executed, I think, in 1526. So this is the date when the last Roman, as Boethius was called, died in prison. And before his death, already imprisoned, he wrote a book which is very important, The Consolation of Philosophy. I'm sorry. Of philosophy. It's a dear to every philosopher because we all need consolation, you know. So if you want some kind of consolation, you should read the book by Boetius, The Consolation of Philosophy. So what is it about briefly? Yes, this is very good question. It was preserved, and we'll speak about the so-called translation or transmission of Greek-Roman culture through the medieval period to Renaissance. We'll speak about that. This is very difficult, sometimes obscure ways through monasteries, for example, Benedictine monasteries. The scribes in these monasteries preserved manuscripts. Also, this is through the papal or pontifical power in Rome. The Roman Pope gathered libraries in St. Peter, for example. And so there were, Christian Church, of course, played a great role in this preservation of ancient heritage. And Boethius himself, he's the example of a certain synthesis of Neoplatonism and Christianity again, because Boethius, although he was a Christian, he wrote commentaries to the categories, or he translated the work of Porphyrius, his commentaries, Porphyrius, or Porphyry, I don't know, Porphyry, his commentaries on the categories of Aristotle. Commentaries on the categories of Aristotle. So you see, so there was some Aristotle. So there was some connection between, I said to you that in spite of all these dogmatic and differences, there was some connections between intellectuals. And so Boetius was very much interested in this Neoplatonic heritage. So he I'm not sure that I wrote so he translated the Porphyry's commentaries on the categories of Aristotle from Greek into Latin. And then he wrote also the book in Latin, The Consolation of Philosophy. both these works are preserved and even translated into Russian language. But for you, the Russian translations are maybe of little importance. The most important is the English translations, which are, of course, extant, so you can find them. The Consolation of Philosophy is a bestseller. The categories of Aristotle, the commentaries on the categories of Aristotle is very like scholarly book and perhaps is difficult to read. Well, returning to the Consolation of Philosophy, when Boëtius was in prison, he had a vision. A certain woman appeared to him, and on her dress there were two books, there were two letters, TH, or it's in Greek theta, I don't know how to write in Greek in chat, and P, which is practice. Two Greek words, theta, two Greek letters, capital letters, theta and P. With theta starts theory in Greek. With P starts praxis or practic. So this is the philosophy is the union or unity of theory and practice. That's the meaning of it. Well, also, she said, like, you remember the last lecture about Stoicism, that you should be, don't overestimate the earthly misfortunes, be content with what you have. If you are locked in prison, try to find good points in it. Of course, if you are locked with your computer and have access to internet, then you can even from prison continue teaching your students, yes? Or just Winnie? If you don't understand my humor, yes? If I will be locked in prison and still having my computer and Wi-Fi in prison, so I can continue teaching you philosophy, okay? You understand? For a philosopher, the most important is to teach. Or if it is prohibited, then he can read, because in most prisons, I don't know whether in Indian prisons, there are libraries where they give prisoners books, lend them, yes? I'm not sure that it's everywhere, but even during the Soviet period, the great Stalin purges, prisoners received some books from the prison library. So it helps you, you see? And if you are denied the books, so you can think, because nobody can, allowed, okay. No library, unfortunately. But in Nigeria, you can think. Nobody can prohibit you to think. So you can think and then memorize your bright ideas, and after you leave prison, after you are released from prison, you can get access to paper or say notebook and just write it down, your thoughts that you had in prison. So this is important. Or you can write letters from prison to your relatives, and in these letters you can get the most important ideas passed through the walls of prison, okay? So the idea is that this is a very stoical idea, that prison cannot hamper you to continue to be a philosopher. So this example of Boëtius is very sort of inspiring for philosophers, and so they make much of this personality. I'm not sure that you are acquainted with this name, but please take care not to forget it. And just an example of a combined Christian and Neoplatonic influence in one personality. So Boëtius is both a Christian and an admirer of Neoplatonic philosophy. So there can be synthesis. And synthesis, I consider, I consider to be very productive. Like a synthesis of man and woman can produce children. So in philosophy, synthesis of different systems can produce great ideas or great insights or great breakthroughs or innovations, you understand? That's why I think that we are from different countries, from different cultures, and I think this maybe some words which I say sound strange for you, but this is understandable because now the synthesis is taking place. The synthesis of Indian and Russian culture, the synthesis of, say, African culture and European thought. So I think it is productive, and I hope you will get the most of it. Although, of course, it is difficult sometimes to understand what a person is speaking about. What is his train of thought? You understand? Train of thought. So sometimes people say, well, what are you tending to? What do you want from us? Okay? What do you want at the exam? As to speak about Boëtius or destiny of philosopher in prison, what do you want concretely? So sometimes people are like a little bit bewildered. So, well, try to get accustomed, and we can speak in chat or in WhatsApp or somewhere else, and we can more or less come to some common ground. Yes, I think. Well, more or less, this is all. Next time, we'll speak about medieval period. We'll speak about these dark ages. We'll speak about the preservation or transmission of Greek-Roman heritage, cultural heritage to, well, to further epochs. So now I thank first of all, Ojaswini for hosting us. Thank all you who are listening to me and putting